Hey everybody, welcome to episode 8 of Chord Expansion. In today's episode, we're going to be doing a culmination of 3 previous episodes where we covered minor 7 flat 5 chords, alto dominant 7 chords, and minor 7 and minor major 7 chords. So if you haven't watched those yet, I would recommend doing that first because everything we're going to do today is pertaining to those 3 episodes and combining them together. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be in the key of F minor, and we're going to build minor 2-5-1s, keeping a common tone on the top of each set of 2-5-1s. So common tone, all that means is that you have a note on the top of each chord that's staying the same. And the idea is we want to take the minor 7 flat 5, the dominant 7, and the minor voicings from the previous episodes and combine them with these common tones on top so that we get to the point where we can run up our entire F minor scale on the first string and build minor 2-5-1s with each note of the scale on top. So everything that we go over today will be on the Patreon with PDFs. So if you're interested in that, you can go to patreon.com/MikeAudetteMusic. And we're going to start out with the root note of the minor 7 flat 5 chord on top. So in this case, we're going to start with the G note on top. And there's going to be a variety of different ways to harmonize these, but I will give you one example for each set of notes. So starting with the G, one of the most easy examples would be just the stock G minor 7 flat 5 on the top 4 strings, right, with the G on top. So I'm doing these all on the top 4 strings for now. So we'll start with that voicing. Now we want to go to C7. So an easy change would just make it a C7 flat 9. Right? And now for the ending, you can do an F minor 9. Right? That would be fine. You could also try F minor major 9. So one thing that you'll see if you take a look at the PDFs of this is that in a lot of these voicings I put at the end that you can experiment with either regular minor 7 voicings or you can do the minor major 7 voicings. So it's not something that you want to do all the time, but those two kinds of voicings can be interchanged and give you a little bit more to work with. Depending on how much tension you're going for in the context of how it's being used. But that is something that can be experimented with when you're doing minor 2-5-1s. So for example, this would be regular, resolving to a regular minor 7. Okay, but now watch, if I do minor major 9, it still sounds fine. Right, I don't mind that at all. So that's one with the G on top. Now, a couple of these notes get a little bit weird when we're dealing with minor 7 flat 5 chords. So if you remember from the episode on minor 7 flat 5 chords, we were saying that when we go up the scale, it's typically more common to put a natural 9 over a minor 7 flat 5 as opposed to a flat 9 because the flat 9 tends to have a pull downward, right? It wants to go down, but if we make it a natural 9, then it's more so a note that we can hang on and build voicings off of, and something that we do encounter a lot more in standards. So for the next note, I'm going to do an A natural on top for my G minor 7 flat 5. But then when I get to the 5 chord, I'm not going to keep the A on top. I'm going to lower it down to G sharp. So I'm getting the sharp 5 of the C chord. Because it's not typical, like over a minor 2-5-1, to put a natural 13 on the dominant chord. It's something that, you know, does happen very rarely. I mean, the only song I can think of that does it is Minority, right? That has. But typically it's not the most common thing for a 5 chord. So I'm going to start with a G minor 9 flat 5. So that's root, flat 5, flat 7, natural 9. All right, now right here, I'm just going to lower it and make it like a C7, sharp 9, sharp 5. And then you can just resolve to like a textbook, F minor 7 if you want, minor 6, minor major 7, depending on what sound you're going for. All right, a little dissonant, but pretty cool. I like that sound. Now for the next one, we want to have the B flat on top, which is going to be the flatted third of our G minor 7 flat 5 chord. So one of the most textbook examples would just be this, right? Then we can do a diminished flat 9, C7 flat 9, and then F minor 11. Right, that one has a nice sound. Okay, so the three we got so far. Now the next one we're going to do on top is the C, which would be the 11 of the G minor 7 flat 5. So we can just take that same voicing that we did and just add our pinky up on C. All right, now we can maybe do like a C7 flat 9, and then maybe an F minor 9, and keeping that C note on top. You know, and obviously if I was in a setting where I was comping, I wouldn't stick to always keeping the same note on top. This is more designed to be an exercise to really test yourself and kind of just make yourself learn as many chords as possible with certain notes on top. But if I was in a situation where I was comping, I would definitely experiment with different movements with different notes on top and stuff like that. But I think this is a really good starting point to get to that point where you're able to do that. Okay, so we just did the C on top. Now we're going to have the flatted fifth on top, which is our D flat. And if you remember from the minor 7 flat 5 episode, there's not a ton of options just on these top 4 strings with the flatted fifth on top, especially if you're not trying to repeat any notes. So we could do, probably this one would be probably the best option. So this one is a minor 9 flat 5, so B flat, F, A, D flat. Then we can do C13 flat 9. So before I said that the 13 is not typically used over a minor 2-5-1 for the 5 chord. When I said that, it's really more the case as the top note. Right here, I'm doing a C13 flat 9, but I have the flat 9 on top. So, you know, that one I think it resolves much cleaner to the 1 chord. So right here we can go. All right, now obviously when we're going to F minor now, I'm not going to keep the D flat on top because that's a flatted 6. That wouldn't be a typical note to do on top of the chord. So this is another example. You have options. You can either go up a half step and do the 6 on top, or you can go down a half step and do the 5. So for this one, because I already did the 5 for the previous one, I'll do the 6. So maybe I'll go. Right, that's kind of an eerie one. That's F minor 6 major 7, actually with a 9 too, so maybe you call it F minor major 13. All right, A flat, E, G, D. Right, if you want something a little less dissonant, maybe just go. Yeah, I'm not as crazy about that one, but that would be another option, I guess, F minor 6. Okay, now we're going to do E flat on top. So this is another chord voicing I don't typically encounter very often for minor 7 flat 5 chords, having the flatted 6 on top. And another one that doesn't have a crazy amount of voicing options. And we kind of have to break our rule actually for this one and include the 5th string. So I'm doing G, skip a string, and then F, B flat, E flat. And then we could do maybe like a C7, sharp 5, sharp 9. And then maybe like an F minor 9. All right, now we have one more. So now we're going to have the flatted 7th on top of the G minor 7 flat 5. So what could we do here? Maybe we can do, that's a nice one that has the 4 in it in the middle. So D flat, G, C, F. You call it G minor 11 flat 5. Now another one, here's another example of a bizarre one. So the 4 on top, especially if you're doing altered dominant, the most common example of a chord that you would encounter that has the 4 on top but also has an altered sound would be dominant 7 sus flat 9. So one of the examples of that would just be this. We take this voicing and we just lower our C down to B flat. So the voicing would be D flat, G, B flat, F. So if you look at that in relation to the C7, we have the flat 9, the 5th, the flatted 7th, and then the 4 on top, which gives us that sus. So sus flat 9. So, and then maybe we could just do an F minor 6 if we want, right, with the 6 on the bottom. All right, and there are a bunch of additional examples and some of my favorite combinations on the Patreon as well. But like I said, this is a great exercise just to kind of put yourself on the spot and say, like, all right, can I take one note and see if I can get as many different 2-5-1s out of that as possible, keeping that note on top. And then there are a variety of things that you can add on to make it more and more challenging once you get that, like maybe do it and then see if you could stay in that same position and go through the cycle of fourths and try to stay as close as you can to the note that you started on. So a wide variety of things you can do with it, and more stuff that we will cover in future episodes. So that's about it. That's our episode for this week. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. And if you would like to support the channel, you can do so at patreon.com/MikeGaudetteMusic or paypal.me/MikeGaudetteMusic. Thanks a lot for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you guys at the next episode. Take care.